What happens when your son-in-law, who is also your nephew, along with your daughter, overthrows you as king? Well, this exact thing happened in 17th century England, and it led to the Jacobite Rising. Let's go back to the events of what some may have called a coup d'etat, while to others it was known as the Glorious Revolution of 1688. The Glorious Revolution refers to the events that took place in England in 1688 and 1689, when King James II was overthrown and replaced by his daughter Mary and her husband, William of Orange, who became joint rulers. It's called the Glorious Revolution because it was accomplished in a relatively peaceful way without significant bloodshed. However, some call this a coup, strategically arranged by the British ruling class to install rulers much more aligned with their religious beliefs. In the late 17th century, England was grappling with religious and political tensions. King James II, who was a staunch Catholic, ascended to the throne after the death of his brother Charles II, who died childless on February 6, 1685, from a stroke. James and his second wife, Mary of Modena, were coronated on April 23, 1685. While the succession to the throne was orderly, there was rising concern among the Protestant majority. Shortly after becoming king, a rebellion took hold in southern England, led by his nephew, James Scott, 1st Duke of Monmouth. On the death of Charles II, Scott proclaimed himself king on numerous occasions, and what was known as the Monmouth Rebellion culminated at the Battle of Sedgemoor. On the evening of July 6, 1685, Scott attempted to take the English army by surprise. He commanded roughly 4,000 men to the English, numbering at about 3,000. Scott was quickly outflanked and defeated. He was captured on July 8th, arrested and taken to London and tried for treason. After being found guilty, he was beheaded on July 15th, 1685 on Tower Hill. James Scott was not the only one unhappy about the ascendancy of James II. Enter Archibald Campbell, 9th Duke of Argyll. A month prior to Scott's rebellion, Archibald Campbell, who was the chief of Clan Campbell, sailed from Holland with 300 men and the goal of landing in Scotland, recruiting an army, and occupying royal forces to assist Scott's rebellion in England. With the pursuit of the royal forces and an inability to raise an army, Campbell was eventually captured and executed on June 30, 1685, on the Maiden in Edinburgh. James II and his pro-Catholic policies and attempts to increase Catholic influence in the government fueled the discontent among various factions. Whig and Tory political factions emerged, representing opposing views on the role of the monarchy and religion. The Whigs, who were predominantly Protestant, favored limiting the powers of the monarchy and upholding their religion, while the Tories, on the other hand, supported the king's authority and were more sympathetic to Catholicism. As it turns out, the greatest vulnerability of King James was his Catholicism, as it raised concerns about a potential Catholic dynasty. On June 10, 1688, Mary gave birth to a son, James Francis Edward Stuart. This event intensified fears of a Catholic succession and led to the formation of a Protestant opposition. To add to this fear, rumor had it that the real Prince James had died at birth, and a different baby was smuggled into the Queen's bedchamber in a warming pan. Anne, who was James II's younger daughter, would have been next in line for the throne, but not any longer, as there was now a male heir. Several influential Protestant nobles, known as the Immortal Seven, sent an invitation to William of Orange, a Dutch Protestant stadtholder, or chief magistrate of the United Provinces of the Netherlands, to intervene in England. Charles Talbot, Earl of Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury was a prominent English statesman and diplomat. He played a key role in the negotiations with William of Orange and signed the letter of invitation to the prince. William Cavendish, Earl of Devonshire. Devonshire was a wealthy nobleman and Whig politician. He was one of the leading figures in the opposition to King James II and played a vital role in securing support for William's invasion. Thomas Osborne, Earl of Danby. Danby was a powerful English statesman and member of the Tory party. Despite his previous support for James II, he joined the Immortal Seven and was instrumental in convincing other Tories to support William's cause. Richard Lumley, Viscount Lumley. Lumley was an English soldier and politician. He had served in the army and was well respected for his military expertise. Lumley played an important role in organizing support for William's invasion among the military. Henry Compton, Bishop of London. Compton was a prominent bishop who strongly opposed King James' policies, particularly those related to religious freedom. He played a crucial role in convincing the other clergy members to support William's invasion. Henry Sidney. Sidney was a diplomat and brother of Algernon Sidney, a famous Whig politician who had been executed during the reign of King Charles II. Sidney's involvement in the Immortal Seven provided a link to the Whig revolutionary tradition. Edward Russell. Russell commanded a fleet of ships that played a crucial role in the Revolution. He helped transport William's troops across the English Channel and was involved in several naval engagements. The invitation to William was not only to support the Protestants, but to equally preserve English liberties and protect the realm from a Catholic succession. In the letter, the Immortal Seven expressed their concerns about the rule of James II, highlighting his Catholic policies, disregard for the authority of Parliament, and the potential threat to the Protestant religion and English liberties. They requested William's assistance and invited him to come to England with an armed force. Upon receiving the letter, William carefully considered the situation. He was already concerned about James II's policies and had been contemplating intervention. The invitation from the Immortal Seven provided him with the legitimacy and support he needed to proceed. William accepted the invitation and began making preparations for an invasion. He assembled a fleet and an army, which included Dutch soldiers, and set sail for England. In November 1688, William of Orange landed in England. This event marked the beginning of the Glorious Revolution, the bloodless political revolution that resulted in the overthrow of James II and the ascension of William and his wife Mary to the English throne. William's landing in England was a pivotal moment in the Revolution. His fleet consisted of around 500 ships, which carried approximately 14,000 soldiers. The fleet sailed from the Netherlands and arrived in Devon on November 5, 1688. William's intention was to challenge the authority of James II, who was facing growing opposition due to his policies favoring Catholics and his autocratic rule. Upon his arrival, William proclaimed that he had come to defend the Protestant religion, the laws of England, and the liberties of the people. His force quickly gained support from various English nobles and politicians, and many soldiers and officers in the English army defected to William's side. As William advanced towards London, support for James II crumbled. Facing a rapidly deteriorating situation, James fled London, seeking refuge with the French king, Louis XIV. The landing of William and his subsequent march to the capital was relatively unopposed, as James's army was unwilling to fight against him. The lack of resistance is why the revolution is often referred to as the Glorious Revolution or the Bloodless Revolution. With the King of England, Ireland, and Scotland fleeing to France, this effectively abdicated the throne and left a power vacuum. Parliament declared that James had abdicated by deserting his post, and they offered the throne to William and Mary as joint rulers. However, they were required to accept a series of conditions outlined in the Declaration of Rights, later known as the Bill of Rights, which established parliamentary supremacy and affirmed certain civil liberties. William and Mary were crowned as joint monarchs in April 1689. The Glorious Revolution marked a significant shift in power from the monarchy to Parliament. It solidified the principles of constitutional monarchy, limited government, and individual liberties, laying the foundation for modern parliamentary democracy in England. The Glorious Revolution had profound implications for England and beyond. It ended the era of absolute monarchy and established the principle that rulers would govern with the consent of Parliament. It also provided a model for future revolutions, such as the American and French revolutions, that sought to challenge the monarchy and its authority and promote the ideals of democracy and individual rights. Still, in the eyes of many Jacobites, the legitimate heir to the throne was James Francis Edward Stuart, also known as the Old Pretender. Despite being in exile, James II continued to rally support and plot his return to power. In our next episode, we'll talk about who the key figures were leading up to the Jacobite Rising.